All right, welcome to another edition of Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting. It is DJ Impact here with Matt Michael, Sin City Steve, and Rob Bossoleri with us. Welcome everyone to 3 Count. And we ask you if you're watching us live to make sure you put your comments in the comment box of YouTube, Facebook Live, or Twitch. We'll try to get it in as we see fit. We got 3 great topics for you tonight. So, we might as well just get right into it.
It's time. Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting present
1, 2, 3.
Count Talk.
Count Talk, baby.
All right, so here is the first one here. And it is Tony Khan is losing his mind on Twitter amid AEW loss to NXT. And this is from Forbes.com. So pretty much what we got here is we know that there was both shows this past week on Tuesday going down. Of course, the ratings came out. WWE garnered about 921,000. AEW did 609,000. And because of that, I guess Tony Khan found himself just saying a whole lot on Twitter this past week. A few things it mentions in this article. It says that that Tony Khan summoned gifts from Curb Your Enthusiasm to refer to as WWE as dicks while using the meme to call Triple H and Shawn Michaels bald assholes. He took repeated shots at Vince McMahon for his sexual misconduct allegations and insisted that Shawn Michaels was not going to win this year's Booker of the Year award, which he says is a meaningless paper trophy that is given away by anyone with the wrestling podcast these days. It said that bizarre tweets then voyaged into analytics as he celebrated the moral victory of John Cena and Undertaker being on a TV show with under 1 million viewers. There was also a strategic message in posting in the sense of the 1 million posts came at the same time. He released the Jay White versus Penta match for next week. I guess with the idea that the post would lead to a more engagement for the announcement of that match. And right there was a quote there from Tony Khan. It also said that it extended into Friday, these posts, and it was discussing his mother's health issues, only to act surprised when he received negative feedback on the notoriously divisive Twitter, or maybe we should call it X now. But it seems like it just went on and on. The article kind of finished up just by saying that perhaps Tony Khan is crazy like a fox, and his antics are being done to deter people from a budding anti-Semitism controversy, which we're going to be talking about at count number 3 here. But nevertheless, let me jump over to you, Rob. This was your story here. Tony Khan losing his mind on Twitter this past week. What was your take? Oh,
that was my take. You're right. It could be, a distraction piece because what he did was so offensive, green lighting that anti-Semitic story. No, I'm looking at this as a jaded son of a bitch. First of all, nobody preempts the WWE. I've never heard of a basketball game kicking Raw 2 hours later. So the idea that, AEW is that low on the totem pole of priorities that it can be preempted by something else and that they have to do a random Tuesday show. And also, I'm under no illusions. If your show is on Wednesday night and you randomly throw it to a Tuesday with 1 week's notice, they had to have known well in advance that this was going to be a thing. So why in the hell do you give your fans 1 week's notice and then bitch on social media that you didn't beat NXT? And by the way, they were smart because NXT stacked the deck that day. They put their best people on there. Yeah. So it wasn't even like you were going up against a regular NXT show. You were getting their best versus your worst, because you threw out a bunch of title matches with, again, no setup. And you're down 300,000 viewers. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that you even had to, deal with this, anti-Semitic skit that I did? Again, you planned all of this. You planned all of this. I was singing the praises of AEW, but they dropped the ball. Yeah, they got preempted by a dog show. And now Purina presents AEW Dynamite will be back next weekend, but now it's the Purina Dog Show.
No,
Sponsored by Whiskers.
Raw.
No, I think he's talking about the Westminster Dog Show that used to preempt Raw at least once a year.
Oh, my apologies. My apologies.
Every
But
February.
it's believable.
Yeah.
But it is believable that would be something that, you know, I mean, there are two more hate speeches away from being on the Pursuit Network. You know.
Oh man,
and that's it. And then you put that bald asshole. Look, as much as I like them, they were never supposed to be at the level of WWE. That was the whole allure. It was supposed to be is we are the new WCW. We'll do a third as well as them, or 2/3 as well as them. We'll get close to 1 million and be happy with it, and we'll stay within our lane, and we'll grow. We'll slowly build. Then they had to do like, oh, we need more shows. We need 3 more shows, 4 more shows. And where are you getting this from? You don't have the numbers, and you've stretched yourself thin. And now the proof is in the pudding. When it was just Dynamite, he had a big dick hanging low, and he had Cody Rhodes was the face of the company. Cody Rhodes did the speaking because this guy can't do it. Okay, we're going to have an amazing show this week. This is going to be great. We're not going to do anything involving quarters or Jewish references whatsoever. You know, we didn't have to do that. He knew his lane. So this is all on him. He is the reason.
Let me go here to Sin City. There's a quote in here. It just says, quote, "This guy needs to get off Twitter. With all due respect, I've heard nothing but, quote, Tony needs to get off his phone and stop tweeting," end quote, said Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer Radio. And then he says, quote, "And you know who I've heard that from? I have not heard that from fans. I've heard that from people in WWE. But do you know I've heard that from people in AEW? They're like, can someone get this guy off his phone, get him off Twitter?" And that's people in AEW. So
we're talking about Trump or Khan.
I know, right? So Sin City, what's your take on that? I mean, you're a fan of AEW. Should Tony Khan just get off Twitter, get off X, I should say, or get off his phone?
I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, his antics on X are not going to impact me watching the show or not. But obviously, I am not speaking for every other wrestling fan in the world. So ultimately, I think that when your social media becomes more of a distraction than how it should be, which, to be honest, yeah, you're the president, owner, CEO, whatever nomenclature that you want to use for a professional wrestling company. Again, it's not going to impact my viewership. I'm going to watch the show regardless until things just get terrible for me, and then I'll find another alternative. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but it's something that, yeah, a lot of people do factor those things in. So he is a distraction to his product.
Yeah.
So, you know, it does not surprise me that people are calling for this stuff. It doesn't surprise me whatsoever. I just look at it and laugh, honestly.
Sure. I mean, Matt Michaels, I think one thing that Rob said, look, this was kind of expected, right? I don't think should Tony have really thought that, you know, when this was going to happen, that somehow he was just about to come out on top and everything was just going to be great. Why do you think, you know, he just took to Twitter and taken this L? And listen, yes, there's it's 300,000 that he lost by, but I would like to think of 609 as still not being, just an overall horrible number for something that need to be preempted by a week. It wasn't like 2 people watched the show. He got 609,000 people watch the show. That's not enough to really go crazy over. I mean, that should be looked at as being successful, to be honest with you. What was your take when you read about, this tirade he went on?
Well, the first thing that sticks out to me is, if you're gonna call on Edge or call on Undertaker and Cena for being under $1 million, then call on Edge for being under 700,000, because this is the first time he's ever been on a show under 700,000. So, also Bryan Danielson probably too, unless other episodes have been lower than that.
Mhm.
But the idea here is that if you're going to be calling out their big guys, you forget you hired their big guys that are available, and guess what? You can't draw a higher number with these guys.
Mhm.
You know, you did it with Punk initially, and then everything went downhill. And there is something between the time that Punk debuted and right now that is not adding up. Something is wrong. And I don't know if it's just he just does not know how to translate the business. Unfortunately, I know a lot more than I should know about things going on there. So,
Do tell.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not going to tell right now because
This was Vegas Bad Boys of podcast.
yeah, well, there are some things that don't need to be said right now. But when the book comes out,
Yeah.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
that's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
But something's wrong with the idea that, first off, I've never liked the idea of the fans creating a quote unquote war. It is so fucking ridiculous. The Monday Night Wars itself is one of the most overhyped and dumbest things, because it wasn't a war. It was very simple. The WWF product had just lost all their big guys to WCW, and once the fans in WCW got tired of seeing the same shit they saw in WWF with those guys, if they would not have changed the characters a little bit, then it would have never have transformed, right?
But they put shoe polish in Hulk Hogan's beard.
Right, exactly. That's the biggest thing in the last 30 years for shoe makers around this country, is Hulk Hogan having to put that shit on his face for 15 years essentially. Every public appearance, everything had to
Left
be
the mustache the
polished.
same.
The
Because
mustache,
that's how hair grows.
it's listen, between shoe polish and mustache dye, okay, the industry, and feathered boas, okay,
Yes.
feathered boas, because in WWF Hogan never had a feather boa, but as soon as he got that in WCW, oh man, he was Hollywood.
Turner Classic.
But
Teddy likes it.
Hey, and you had the Macho Man. I'm just saying, if all they needed was a guy in the Navy. That's all. I'm saying.
We want you. We want you. We want you as an NWO.
Yes, boy.
But that's the thing is, this isn't a war. It's so ridiculous to think that you're creating competition in terms of ratings and interest and whatnot. That's honestly the thing you can actually compare this to is the NFL and the XFL/AFL or whatever the fuck it is now, the merger. That's what you have. You have something that is an established brand for years and years and years, and is a worldwide brand. And then you have that other thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with pro wrestling is that guys who are past their prime can go and sign for big money and be this big thing on a show. And then, as Steve said in Wrestling Talk, come out to the biggest thud of a debut because there's no direction, there's no development, there's nothing giving you any reason to really invest further, not into it being an alternative. That's the thing. It's an alternative. Okay, great. But it's not meant to put the other company out of business. And the thing with this is that when you start shooting the shots, and if he starts fucking going off on Twitter more and more, he's desperately trying to gain that attention. He wants people to, he's using the WWE to get the spotlight on him.
Yep.
But the honest answer is don't poke the bear, because they will get their lawyers, they will get their fucking their writing will fucking all of a sudden improve. You know, all the writers came back from a strike, and now, you know, so those people that they want to hire who you know, were scabs during the writer's strike, and you know, they could hire people in. It's ridiculous.
It is. All right, let's jump over into our account 2, though. And that one is Triple H and Vince McMahon have more defined roles in WWE. This is from SportsIllustrated.com. And the way this reads here, it just says that when WWE merged with Endeavor last month, Paul Triple H Levesque did not receive a seat on the board of directors, a position he had held prior in WWE, yet that has not represented a loss of power. In fact, the opposite has occurred. If you have noticed a change in WWE program, you're not alone. Levesque, who is WWE's head of creative, has overseen all the creative on SmackDown and Raw since the merger, which is precisely what his job description entails. And the difference is that Vince McMahon, who's synonymous with all things WWE, is no longer directly involved in dictating the weekly creative in the same manner he once did. McMahon remained the title of executive chairman in WWE, but he no longer possesses majority control of the company. That has allowed for change in the new regime, particularly in the creative department. And multiple contacts within WWE and UFC have confirmed that Ari Emanuel, who wields power as the Endeavor CEO, is behind the change. And Emanuel has long been a firm believer that in order for an organization to be effective as possible, people need to do the job they are assigned. And in this case, that approach has empowered Levesque to exert his full influence in the company's creative sphere. But not as all lost for McMahon. As executive chairman, his focus is elsewhere, particularly in overseeing a lucrative media rights deal for Raw and the NXT brand. But it is a fascinating time for McMahon. Sin City Steve, this was your article. I would say this though, and you can. I want to know what was your thoughts on this article, but I want to ask you too. Especially a person who went to AEW because of so much creative control that Vince McMahon have, and now we've kind of seen what Triple H has done. Have you seen the improvements, and do you like the improvements? Not saying you're ready to come back to full WWE, but have you liked what you've seen, since this transition has happened some time?
So the thing is, I have had more people reach out to me and say, hey, you've got to check this out, this particular segment out, watch this part of the show. I was never getting that prior to, the merger, or, prior to Triple H being head of creative. So I think that genuinely there's a buzz right now. And it's so easy to sit in a bubble. And when that is the product that you watch and think that it's the best thing going, speaking from experience. Okay. Yeah. I'm objective enough to say that. But at the end of the day, when I'm completely outside of that bubble, yet I'm having numerous people and, not the same 2 or 3 people reaching out to me, but several people that watch the show, sending me links and saying, hey, you got to check this stuff out. There's more of a buzz around WWE right now than I've seen in years. I think that this is without a doubt a very smart thing that they've done by announcing this. Because yes, like it or not, there is a bit of a stigma behind Vince's name because of the things that he's done in the past. Yes, we as wrestling fans can look at Vince McMahon and say, hey, he brought about everything that we see.
Yeah.
Because realistically, without Vince McMahon, professional wrestling as we know it does not exist. As we know it does not exist. So I think that, them making the change to embrace this and actually announce this pivot point is massive. I am considering, getting back into the fold and starting back to watching WWE. My only thing is, man, I hate the fucking bloodline. I hate the fucking bloodline. God, like, I don't know.
Well, you don't have to
that's been my holdup. Honestly, that's been my holdup from getting back in.
You don't have to. That could just be a part of the storyline that you just don't care about. You can like all the others, but that one, But still, we know that that's still a pretty big one.
Doesn't like the leading story.
Exactly.
Of the entire.
When both of your shows revolve around it, I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah. Let me go over to you. I'm gonna save you on this one, Matt Michaels, and have you go last. I want to go. I was gonna go to you because that's the way it should be. But the reason why I want to go to Rob's because I just want to say, we joked about how Adam Pearce is supposed to have this promotion that he had. We talked about this during Wrestling Talk, and it didn't seem like a promotion. Yet you have Triple H here. He was on the board of directors, no longer on the board of directors, but does have full control over creative. What was your take on that? Is that a promotion you would see? Would someone rather be on the board, or would they want to be over creative? Yeah, it's
a benefit for us because he has his finger on the pulse of what people want. He breeds creativity, and my biggest gripe with NXT, and somebody corrected me the other day outside of this group, that there have been a lot of people that came from NXT and have been successful. Asuka's been successful. The Shield members came from NXT, were successful. But there was a lot of other people that since they went with the NXT 2.0, it was a joke. They're going to become jobbers or
who? That's my question. Who? Can you name anyone?
What have they done with Shotzi Blackheart? Nothing. They cut her hair, they put her in a red leather outfit, and then they don't use her properly. Tegan Knox used properly. I'm going to compliment it in a second. I don't think that the people, since the 2.0 stuff, have been used properly, or they get up just to be slapped down. LA Knight is an exception to the rule. What I will say is I believe now that if Triple H has his hands on the product exclusively, or the majority of the product is being led by him, I think I could get behind NXT. My only exclusion was Imperium, which came from NXT recently and have been allowed to maintain their personas and storylines, and they've grown. But most of the people, they don't go very far from this version of NXT. But now I feel confident. What I don't like is that when Triple H shows up on the camera, number one, corporate Triple H is shit. I hate corporate Triple H because he does dumb shit like what he did, where he tells a guy, "Oh yeah, you're promoted. Now you only have to work half the week." He's very awkward when he speaks. And he speaks as if I'm in the back office with him. I'm not. I'm a fanboy. I'm a mark, if you want to call me that. Don't speak like I'm sitting as your secretary and I get the cadence or your persona or mindset. I don't care about your mindset. When you come out in a suit and you try to tell us that it's the premiere of SmackDown. SmackDown airs every week. Raw airs every week. There is no premiere. It's another one of these little fake ideas. It's a notion he created, or maybe
No,
Vince.
it is not, dude. They've been doing that for.
I know,
ever
and
since
it's
they fucking
dumb.
get on-
It's dumb. I
It's
don't
fucking
like
television. It's a new season. They've
a
been
season
doing
of
that
what?
for
They're on
years.
every week. Every episode's new. Law and Order ends after the season, and then they do repeats for the next 3 months. Then they come back and fall, and they start all over again.
It's
WWE is episodic. Every week is something new. Star Trek, they don't make it anymore. Half the members are dead. You know, they're not going to come out and here's a season premiere, or they'll reboot it. This isn't that. So when you kind of try to make it something it's not, there's no reason to defend it fervently. I don't like when Triple H comes out and he tries to speak to us like it's a corporate board meeting. It doesn't work. It comes off as awkward. I need less of him on camera and more of him behind the scenes where he shines.
I got you. All right. Well, let me go over to you, Mr. Matt Michaels. We got Triple H, Vince McMahon. They have a more defined role in WWE. Are you happy with these defined roles now that they have now within this transition of Endeavor taking over?
Dude, Vince McMahon's like 70. Well, he's born in 45, so you know he's almost 80.
Mhm.
So does it really fucking matter what he's doing, because he's on his way out? Let's face it. I think it said in the article, the reason Vince has anything to do with anything right now is to get the television deal done. They've put him in the old folks home, essentially, and they're giving him busy work to kind of do, but nothing really fucking matters. So he feels important. His mustache feels important. Okay. But that's about it. I mean, there's really nothing. Triple H is rarely fucking on TV. That's the thing. You know, he comes out and makes these announcements probably about 2 times a year, and that's it. So who fucking has any problems with, now if he came out on a fucking weekly basis and was playing this character all the time, then it would be shit. But he's got more
Fair
important things. Yeah, he's got more
Fair
important things. The marriage is something that's coming up a lot. Stephanie's her being distant from the company and everything, and everything that's going on with them. I'm sure he's got a lot of shit going on that way. So I think that this is where you're going to see the best work, because I think he's burying himself in the work right now. I think that the problem is that when you look at some of these, the NXT, they didn't transition them right, blah, blah, blah. The problem is this, and that is when Shotzi Blackheart was in NXT, she was a mid-carder at best. And right now, on that roster, she's a curtain jerker at best. That's it. It's just where she fits in. And you said it on Wrestling Talk. You saw Jade and Charlotte face to face. That made sense. You put Shotzi and Charlotte face to face. Charlotte fucking overshines her. We're not talking ring skills, just marketability and persona and superstar. And I think that's the whole thing. Can you make yourself that? That's why LA Knight is shining, right? Is because Ricker is making himself that level. He and Cena are holding each other. It was incredible to watch that, right?
Holding each other how?
Well, we can't see Cena. So I'm just saying,
Oh God.
And he, LA Knight was, in the male model industry there.
Yeah.
So,
All right, let me go to the. Oh man, AW generates all kinds of heat with MJF, Juice Robinson, quarters angle. This is from CageSideSeats.com. All right. So this reads that after Switchblade Jay White picked up a Mogul Embassy's assisted victory over Hangman Page on October 10th, title Tuesday edition of Dynamite, the AEW World Champion Maxwell Jacob Freeman appeared to demand White return his belt to him, and that led to a strong promo exchange between the two men who will fight for the title next month in Full Gear. It also led to some words from Switchblade's Bullet Club Gold partner Juice Robinson that will keep wrestling fans talking on the internet for a while. Now, Robinson pointedly referred to the champion solely by his surname, Freeman, which isn't something anyone else on AEW television does. Juice revealed this year's Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal is next week on Dynamite, and he plans on winning it. To take the ring Max wears as the winner of each of the previous 4 such battle royals. So Juice told MJF he had a present for him and revealing a roll of quarters with Freeman written on them. And Robinson has been using similar rolls to nail opponents and rivals with loaded punches for a long time now, but threatening to give Max a gift of them also calls back the story MJF shared on multiple occasions about anti-Semitic bullying he was subject to in high school. Now, in a sense, it's the origin story for the character of MJF. He's told the story since multiple times. It came up during his feud with CM Punk and again during his recent babyface turn. So having Max lose his temper before Robinson could finish his promo and later wanting to talk to his pachacho Adam Cole about Robinson opening up some, quote, old wounds, end quote. It all works in the story MJF and AEW has been telling for a long time. But it's also a very real world issue told at a time with anti-Semitism has been on the rise in recent years. More specifically, they're having Juice push these buttons in the week following an attack on Israel that's been called their 9/11 and has shaken Jews worldwide. Now, for those reasons, a segment of AEW's online fan base isn't directing their anger at the heel character of Juice Robinson and pulling for babyface MJF to give his comeuppance. And they're disappointed with Tony Khan and the people who book or approve the angle because it hit their screens. All right. Matt Michaels, this was your story. Tell us, man, when you saw this, what came to mind?
So I think American Bam Bam has the valid point here. And he says, this idea is crazy. This is performance art. Do people have a problem with American History X? So the short answer to that is nowadays, yes. Right? When that movie came out, no, it was a movie. And even though it probably rubbed some people wrong, there wasn't any kind of backlash or anything like that. Nowadays, people are just looking for anything to be sensitive over, to jump on, to just push an extreme point. Listen, it probably was not the best timed thing to do, right? For this point, and that is the people who know the product know that this was something Juice was doing, and that is the loaded punch. The problem is that the people on the internet who either A, want to troll, or B, don't know the backstory are going to be the ones who are going to bring this to the forefront. What's interesting is that there has been nothing in the sense like, you could have, if it was something that you felt was wrong, Tony could have basically just taken Juice, off for a week or 2 weeks, something, whatever. But the truth of the matter is that I think that Tony doesn't see anything that was really wrong with it. MJF and Tony are both said that they, approved it. And you know, they know what they're doing. The real life events, you know, this goes back to when 9/11 happened. WWE was getting ready to do a pay-per-view, and they were using the song "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor." And as soon as 9/11 happened, that song disappeared. But it not only disappeared from that, it disappeared from radio stations. And so did many other songs, because we have a tendency to over jump, right? We're more worried about the handful of people that might affect than allowing something that wasn't created about that subject to live as the art form. And that's the problem here. This wasn't anything about Israel. This wasn't anything about, you know, it had the backstory of Max being bullied, which is the upside of the story, right? Because what happens in wrestling? The bully ends up being the one who gets his ass kicked in the end. So you have to let it play out, and you have to see where Max is going with it. And by the way, you're making him a face by doing this. And that's how you're getting him over into the face. And that the you know, the segment they did on Collision for, you know, the Stop the Jewish Hate was amazingly convincing of how good of a person he is. So, and that's a great point too, American. It is performance art if what you're saying is true. Where is the line? And that is what we're dealing with as society right now. Where is the fucking line?
Yeah, let's go over to you, Rob, on this one. Tough topic here. What's your take when you read about this?
Let's go back in time just a little bit. You remember a character pre 9/11, Muhammad Hassan, and they were going to push him to the moon until 9/11 happened, and then they went, "Oh shit!" They pulled the plug on that. At the end of the day, it's a business, and if I agree with you, Matt, I do. I agree with you. It's a business. So you got to weigh out how many people am I going to piss off today in today's easily offended social media society where they're looking for spots. They're not looking for. I like long-term storytelling. I get everything you said. You're absolutely right. It would be great for him to overcome. And I said it earlier. This is a callback to something he said in a promo where he referenced the quarters. However, it doesn't take much to be put on the ban list to be, you know, and it sucks that we live in this kind of society. When you're down 300,000 viewers and your week over week is shit, you can't take a chance like that. There was another way they could have done it. Now, on another note, I like this guy because he was a scumbag. So the fact that they're making him super fucking sugary baby face is pissing me off, because he's not getting the pops he used to get when he just crossed over into I'm a face. He was more of a face in the vein of The Rock, where The Rock was just full of himself. He's not apologizing. He's not trying to become a better person. I don't want Maxwell Jacob Friedman to become a better person. I want him to be a scumbag. I want him to be this piece of shit. And he's not anymore. Now he's syrupy. And they did this during the pandemic. For forever and a day, Drew McIntyre was a heel. He was a heel. Then he became the champion, and they made him a sugary baby face. Even on Mother's Day, the match he had before Mother's Day, I don't remember what pay-per-view it is. He goes, I just want to give a shout-out to all of the beautiful mothers out there. And he winked at the camera. I threw up. I projectile vomited. You son of a bitch, you're giving me diabetes. Cut it out. They're putting Maxwell Jacob Friedman in this direction, and I need him to be a heel. again. I need him to take the Dynamite Diamond ring and just clock Juice Robinson in the face. I need him to give nut shots. I need him to be a piece of shit. I don't need him to be fucking Three Stooges comical. And they're putting him in that area, and it's annoying. You could do that with the Kingdom, which that's an insult in and of itself to waste them to be comic relief. And Roderick Strong to be comic relief. But don't do it with MJF. MJF does that once in a while, and then he cuts that scumbag promo like when he was drunk driving and he threw the girl in the driver's seat. And you go, God, that's awful. But I watched. It wasn't Katie Vick awful. It wasn't Dominic Mysterio awful. It was, I got to take a shower after that. But it made me feel I needed to take a shower after he told me that story. And I was just like, and I pictured it because he told it so vividly. Now he's being slapstick and shticky. And yes, what he did cutting that promo for Jews this weekend, that was a throwaway because of what's going on in Israel. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it was expected. I need him to be a scumbag. I need to what's happening in the world right now to lose interest in the public eye so he could go back to being the MJF that we really need. Because The Rock was never not a piece of shit. The Rock was always a piece of shit. Stone Cold was a piece of shit. Then you liked him too much, so what did he do? He joined ECW and became a bigger piece of shit and said, "What? My watch is telling me something." And you loved him all over again. Great. We need that for MJF. We need his what moment where he pulls down and comes back to who he is. This is bullshit what he's at right now. Might as well make an MJF plushie at this point with a pull string.
ShopAEW.com.
Yeah.
Let's clarify one thing. Muhammad Hassan actually was in the WWE between 2004 and 2005.
That's correct.
And
I know, but they were going to give him a bigger push, and they pulled that plug on him.
Right.
They got rid of that full-blown Middle Eastern terrorist character that he was going for, where he was going to come in with like.
It didn't have anything to do with 9/11. It actually had to do with the fact that on UPN, remember that network, guys? UPN. How about that? They were doing SmackDown where it was The Undertaker. He was wrestling Daivari. Muhammad Hassan was on the ramp. He did a prayer, and masked men in black came out with baseball bats and wires and shit like that, attacked The Undertaker. Hassan put him in a camel clutch. They took Daivari out, and basically what happened 3 days later is there was a terrorist bombing in London. And UPN basically decided, you know what, we're not going to fuck around with this whole terrorism thing, and forced him essentially off the show. And
Okay.
That's basically how he got. And this is
But it was the same. It was the same premise, basically. It was just the wrong, but the same
time frame. I just wanted to make sure the time frame.
No, fair enough. Fair enough.
Was going on. Yeah,
he got
but the idea too is that he was an Italian. He's not. He was
no, of course, but it was the premise.
You know,
it was the character that they were
right.
building towards that was just considered too offensive, even for then.
Right, and that's for UPN.
And they were banging women in the middle of the ring. So
well, that was USA though.
Oh.
Let me get over here to Sin City, man. What was your thoughts about this whole thing, man? Yeah.
Man, so honestly, I put this segment in my WTF on Wrestling Talk, and there was a reason why, is because I knew immediately after seeing this segment, I knew that there would be backlash. And it wasn't for necessarily the content of the segment. For me, I can understand how some people in, the oversensitized world that we live in, that they would choose this to be upset about. And again, at a time where you're hemorrhaging viewers, is this something where you really want to poke the bear with something like that? I will say this, for all of the people that have shown outrage, are those, I'm just curious as to what the the comparison is like for the people who had gotten upset about this, but wanted the Attitude Era back or things to be more edgy, because you can't, if you're going to freak out and absolutely lose your shit over something like this, where you have to use inference and drawing from other storylines, because as you mentioned, holding a roll of quarters isn't specifically, it's not a hate symbol or what could be construed as, hate speech or any of that kind of stuff. But it plays into the origin of the Maxwell Jacob Friedman character, like what was mentioned. The fact that does need to be established. Again, Juice Robinson has been using a roll of quarters in a loaded punch since his time in Japan. So he's been doing this for years. It's more than anything, I see this being a poor timing issue more than anything. And American Bam Bam definitely hit the nail on the head. This is performance art. So obviously, if you're going to go into it with the premise of being offended, you're going to find something to be offended about. It's just going to happen. But yeah, I agree that it could have, not happened this week or something of that nature. But yeah, the content itself, come on.
No one seems to be mad that the guy's name is Juice Robinson.
I see what you did there. It's very good. Juice.
Oh, now you're gonna have people complain about us. Thank you much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want me to do like I'll do a Donald Trump bit? It'll be even far more offensive. Believe it. I'll out offensive that in seconds, buddy.
Yeah, man. All right, man.
He's like, no, please don't.
All right. Hey, let me ring this bell, man. I think we did it. Here we go. There we go, man. Great topics for tonight. Look like we handled it all, man. And shout out to everyone tonight hanging out with us for this segment. We always appreciate you coming every week and putting your comments in. We recommend you, those who do listen to the recorded podcast, and one time, just join us live. We do this Sunday nights, 8 a.m., starting at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's for wrestling talking. Around 8:45, we do the 3 count, and
you
then
can do the show at 8 a.m. if you want, but I don't know.
I'll be the only one.
I'll be sleeping.
Yeah,
I'll leave the camera on. You'll just see me snoring and drooling.
Right.
Got a CPAP machine, just hooked up to hoses. It'll be sad.
Listen, but we definitely just appreciate you, no matter how you watch or listen to us. Thanks for doing that. We're gonna let the guys give their final thoughts as we always do, and let's get right into it. Let's start with you, Sin City Steve. What would you like to tell the good folks out there?
All right. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, doing all the stuff that you guys do. We genuinely appreciate each and every one of you. Very special thank you to all the brave men and women serving in this country, whether you're doing that on lands foreign or domestic. Thank you for doing what you do so that we can do what we love to do. Last but not least, repsports.com, reppsports.com. Go there for all your pre-workout, weight loss, general energy needs. Again, that's repsports.com. Use promo code Vegas at checkout and save yourself 15%.
All right, let's go to you, Matt Michaels.
Yeah, have a good week.
No doubt. And Rob, what do you got, man? I heard one of the shows I wasn't on. I actually had seen you were doing a show in town, so I wasn't in town to see it.
I was featured at Noreen's yesterday. Featured at Noreen's yesterday, which is by the Walmart by Trop and Pecos.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name. I think that's McLeod. I can't. I think that's called McLeod. But I'm going to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to be opening on Tuesday at 18 Bin for A Miracle, the comedian Amir.
Okay.
At 18 bin for drunken jokes, and you'll see me in my full Trump regalia. And let me tell you something, baby. If you're worried about roll of quarters, you've got a lot more to worry about. First of all, that Maxwell guy, that's all he could afford was a roll of quarters. I've got billions and billions of dollars. I would love to watch him pick it up off the floor. And if you want to get offensive, we'll get offensive, baby.
Yeah, oh boy, don't get offensive. But good stuff, man. So we at least know where, if anybody want to see Robbie, you're located here in the Vegas area. Make sure you look that up, and you also can follow him too. Okay, he's got his name right there.
Boss Comedy.
Yeah, Boss Comedy. Make sure you look that up. And yeah, man, thanks for being here for the show this week as well.
Thank you.
You definitely are a comedian because you don't know how to spell the word boss.
Oh Lord.
No, that's oh boy.
Yeah, let me get out of that place. Until then, y'all take care. Happy wrestling.